Look, another example. For too long, we've had a two-tiered tax system. Working families pay taxes they owe on the wages they earn, while some of the wealthiest Americans avoid paying anything close to that fair share. My plan revitalizes and the capacity of the IRS to crack down on. There's a number of studies from the former Secretary of Treasury on that millionaires and billionaires are able to avoid taxes and cheat in avoiding those taxes because we have so few agents in the IRS. The consensus is if you increase the disclosure requirements for banks and financial institutions on accounts of the wealthiest Americans to reduce tax cheating, you will have two steps. Two steps would recover $70 billion per year that currently goes unreported and unpaid. Now, we've been hearing about this for the last 10 years. Instead of cutting the number of agents, we should be increasing the number of agents. Not hounding anyone, just being able to get access to information and shut down all the tax havens from the islands to, anyway, I won't go into it. I get a little carried away with this. But look, and we can take this money, and pay for universal pre-K for every 3 and 4-year-old in America. So what is better? Making people just pay their fair share? Paid family leave, child care cost of working families, maximum of 7% of their income. Again, it's a choice. It's more important to shield millionaires from paying their fair share, or is it more important that every child gets a real opportunity to succeed from an early age and ease the burden on working families? Third, we have a loophole in our tax system called stepped-up basis. It's also known as a trust fund loophole. For example, if I had $1 million in stock that I bought and it made $1 million, and I was going to cash it in, I'd have to pay capital gain on that $1 million. But if, God forbid, on the way, go back to where I was, on the way to where we're talking about, on the way to cash in my stock, I got hit by a car and got killed, I can leave it to my daughter, and she pays no tax. A tax that was owed 2 seconds earlier. It's not an inheritance tax. It was a tax that was owed two seconds earlier. But that's what stepped-up basis means. It's a person passes away and leaves the stock in their son or daughter. Son or daughter don't have to pay anything on that multi-million-dollar gain when they sell that stock. And that's worth a lot of money. Look, it may be decent and honorable people, and they are. But the last thing Americans with the amount of wealth needs is another tax break. We need to make a choice to eliminate the loophole. Only the gains above people making $2 million a year, a couple. A rate of capital gains rate for people making more than $1 million a year, which, by the way, would affect 0.3% of all taxpayers. 0.3% of the top 1%. And close another loophole, like the real estate investor loophole, the wealthiest simply paying the same rate on their wages and investment income that raises $40 billion a year for the next 10 years. The reason I'm bothering to do this is I keep hearing on the press, Biden's going to raise your taxes. Anybody making less than $400,000 a year will not pay a single penny in taxes. And we will not increase the deficit either, unlike the last gigantic tax cut, which increased the deficit by $2 trillion. It's about balancing the system and growing the economy. It would mean wealthy investors no longer pay lower marginal tax rates than their secretary pays, their secretary in their office. Do you want to know what that would do? That would take that money and extend the life-changing middle-class tax cut and put it in place for American Rescue Plan and expand child care tax credit. I mentioned earlier that's $1,700 in the pockets of a family with 2 kids for now through 2025. Look, just closing these loopholes by taxing investment income at the same rate as wages for the wealthiest Americans would have enough to extend this again through 2025. So I ask again, is it more important to keep these tax loopholes for millionaires? They're good people, they're not bad folks. Or would we rather put $7,200 in the pockets of working moms and dads every year if they have 2 children?